$5 Games presents Moonlighter. Off of what I played, I really like this game. The story begins that a bunch of dungeons were discovered a long time ago. This formed a town of adventurers seeking glory and merchants seeking riches, as the dungeon would be randomly generated upon entry. However, over time it turned out that the dungeons were a little bit too lethal, and so the town fell into ruins. The protagonist is the last owner of the last shop in town and seeks to restore his ancestors' store to its former glory, as well as opening the final doorway next to the other 4 dungeons, as no one's ever been there before. It's this one. Gameplay is divided into 2 sections: dungeon delving for items and selling said items. That's right, selling stuff. I found it to actually be really fun, as you can set the prices of your items, and then your customers decide on whether or not to buy it. You keep a record of their expressions along with how much it was being sold for, so that you can figure out what the actual prices are. However, when demand is high and stock is low, you can always scalp the price, meaning that over time, these prices fluctuate. This is assuming that the developers didn't hard code price ranges for each item, which they easily could have. Ultimately, you could look up the optimal starting prices for each item, but that would ruin the experience for me personally. Now, there is a reason to not sell certain items, as they can be used to forge new equipment or brew potions, which helps with the dungeon delving, as dying in a dungeon causes you to drop all of the items in your bag. To get back to town with the items you have, you use a pendant, which lets you warp out for some gold. Speaking of loot, there is a little bit of inventory management, as some items will only fit in certain locations. So I imagine later that you'll have to decide on what items to keep and what items to discard. To lessen the blow of discarding items, after the first boss you're given a mirror to transmute leftover items into gold, albeit far less than you would get in the store. As far as the controls go, I was able to customize the few keys I wanted to without issue, and moving around was smooth. You have an invincible roll that lets you jump over ledges and felt akin to Dead Cells. You're able to change what weapons you use mid-combat, as some weapons have a farther reach but are slower. The first boss was big and easy to read while still looking threatening, so he was very enjoyable. I noticed in town that there was a calendar that kept track of what day of the year it was, and although I'd love for this to be like Harvest Moon and have holidays, events, people you can date, rival shopkeepers, etc., I'm pretty sure that it's just a fancy way to keep track of time. I'd be very happy to be wrong on that front, but it's doubtful. Overall, I had a lot of fun with this game and plan on going through it. Subscribe, I do 5 games each week until I get to 100 videos. That's a wrap for this game. Consider picking this game up instead of a pendant.